My GF dumped me. Then her mom showed up. She'll be furious, but I need this. The best day ever. Marcus Webb had been staring at the same unpacked box for 2 days. It sat in the corner of his studio apartment in Somerville, half-taped, labeled Emma's stuff in his own handwriting, and he genuinely could not decide whether it was cruelty or kindness to keep looking at it. 3 weeks ago, Emma Hartley had sat across from him at their kitchen table. Well, his kitchen table now. Technically, it had always been his, and told him, in the calm, rehearsed voice of someone who had clearly practiced this speech in her car beforehand, that she didn't think they wanted the same things anymore. They'd been together 2 years. He'd thought they wanted exactly the same things. Apparently, he'd been wrong about that. The way he was wrong about most things lately: his mechanical engineering thesis, his sleep schedule, whether or not it was normal to eat cereal for dinner 4 nights in a row. He was 24, a graduate student running on caffeine and denial, and he had precisely no idea what to do with the box, the breakup, or the ache that showed up every time he passed the coffee shop where they'd had their first date. So when the doorbell rang on a gray Tuesday afternoon, and he opened it expecting a delivery, the last person on earth he expected to find standing on his porch was Diane Hartley, Emma's mother. She looked exactly like she always did, composed in a way that made Marcus instinctively straighten his shoulders, dressed like she'd come from a client meeting, even though it was a Tuesday afternoon in a quiet residential neighborhood. A teal blazer over a silk blouse, a silver necklace, catching the afternoon light. She used to intimidate him a little, back when he and Emma were together, not because Diane was unkind, but because she had the specific, quiet authority of a woman who noticed everything and said only some of it. "Marcus," she said, and her voice was careful in a way he didn't recognize, not cold, careful. "Mrs. Hartley." He glanced past her, half expecting Emma to be standing at the curb, waiting in the car, orchestrating some kind of ambush. There was no one. Just Diane, alone, holding her purse in front of her with both hands, like she wasn't entirely sure she should have come. Is everything okay?" "Emma doesn't know I'm here," Diane said. "And she's going to be furious when she finds out. But I need to ask you something, and I needed to ask it in person." Marcus stood there for a second too long, backpack still slung over one shoulder from the lab, keys still in his hand, trying to catch up to whatever was happening. "Okay," he said slowly. "Do you want to come in?" "I'd rather talk out here if that's all right," Diane said. "This won't take long." Or she hesitated, and for the first time since he'd known her, Diane Hartley looked uncertain. "Actually, it might take a while. Do you have somewhere to be?" He didn't. He had a thesis chapter he wasn't writing and a box he wasn't unpacking. "No," he said. "I've got time." They ended up sitting on the porch steps, an odd pair, a mother in a wool blazer and a 24-year-old in a hoodie with a broken zipper, both of them looking out at a quiet street instead of at each other, which somehow made it easier to talk. "6 years ago," Diane said, "before Emma's father and I divorced, before any of that, I had a daughter who used to tell me everything. Every crush, every fight with a friend, every stupid thing that felt enormous at 14. And somewhere along the way, I lost that. I don't entirely know when. Maybe it was the divorce. Maybe it was just growing up, the way it happens to everyone eventually. But for the last 4 years, Emma's told me almost nothing real. Surface things. Weather. Work. Never anything that matters." Marcus didn't say anything. He had a feeling this wasn't a conversation you interrupted. "Except she told me about you," Diane continued. 2 years of it. Little things: how you fixed her bike without being asked. How you drove 4 hours to help her move because her brother backed out. How you remembered her grandmother's name. After meeting her exactly once, she talked about you, the way she used to talk about things that mattered when she was 14. And then 3 weeks ago, she called me and told me you'd broken up, and she cried for 40 minutes, and she has not said your name since. "She broke up with me," Marcus said quietly, in case there was any confusion about that part. "I know," Diane said. "She told me that too. She said it was the right decision, and she said it 11 times in one phone call, which in my experience means someone is trying very hard to convince themselves of something." Marcus looked down at his hands. "She said we wanted different things. Do you know what those different things are?" No, he admitted. That's the part that's been killing me. She never actually said. She just decided. And I didn't get a vote. Diane was quiet for a moment, watching a jogger pass on the far sidewalk. Emma's father left when she was 16. She said finally. Not suddenly, it had been coming for years. But when it actually happened, it happened fast. And it happened right after they'd had the best 6 months of their marriage in a decade. Right after she'd let herself believe things were finally good. I think some part of my daughter has believed, ever since, that the moment things start feeling too good is exactly the moment they're about to fall apart. So she leaves first. Every time, she's done it with jobs, with friendships, and now, apparently, with you. Marcus felt something tighten in his chest, not hope. Exactly. Something more careful than hope. She's never told me any of that. She wouldn't, Diane said. She barely told me, and I'm the one who lived through it with her. She turned to look at him directly for the first time since sitting down. Marcus, I'm not here to get you two back together. I want to be very clear about that, because it would be an enormous overstep. And it's not actually why I came. I'm here because my daughter is about to make herself smaller and lonelier out of fear, the way I watched her do after the divorce. And I don't know how to reach her anymore, but I think you might. What do you want me to do? I don't know exactly, Diane admitted, and there was something almost funny about hearing a woman so composed say those 3 words. I just know that whatever you say to her can't come from me. And it can't come while she thinks I orchestrated it. It has to be real. It has to be you, showing up. Saying the thing you actually feel, not the thing you think, will win an argument. He almost didn't do it. For 2 more days, Marcus sat with what Diane had told him, turning it over, half convinced it was a bad idea, half convinced it was the only idea that mattered. He wrote and deleted 4 different texts. He drafted a long email, and never sent it. In the end, what actually moved him wasn't a plan at all. It was walking past that same coffee shop again on a Thursday evening and seeing, through the window, Emma sitting alone at their old table, a book open in front of her that she clearly wasn't reading, staring at nothing in particular. He stood outside for a full minute before he went in. Hey, he said, and she looked up. And for exactly 1 second before she could arrange her face into something guarded, he saw something raw and unguarded flicker across it. Relief maybe, or fear. Possibly both. Marcus. Hi. She closed the book. What are you doing here? Honestly, I don't fully know, he said, sliding into the chair across from her without asking. Because if he asked, he was fairly sure she'd say no. Your mom came to see me on Tuesday. Emma's face changed instantly. She what? She's going to be furious, you know I told you that, Marcus said. But I needed you to hear this from me, not from her. And I couldn't figure out how to say it without telling you the truth about how I got here. So, your mom came to see me. She didn't ask me to do anything. She just told me some things about your dad, and about how you leave before things can leave you first. And I've been thinking about it for 2 days. And I think she's right, and I think you did it to me too. Emma's eyes were bright, and her jaw was tight in the way it got when she was trying very hard not to cry in public. That's not you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe not, Marcus said, but I know. I never got a real reason. I know we want different things isn't an answer. It's a door closing, and I know that for 2 years you were the best part of every single day. And I don't think that's a small thing that either of us should just let go of because it's scary that it was good. The coffee shop noise continued around them, the hiss of the espresso machine. Someone's laugh 2 tables over while Emma sat very still, gripping the edge of the table like she needed something solid to hold on to. I'm scared, she said finally, so quietly he almost missed it. I know that's not fair to you. I know you didn't do anything wrong. You've never done anything wrong, and somehow, that's the part that scares me most, because eventually something has to go wrong, doesn't it? Everything always does eventually, and I would rather leave on my own terms than wait around for it to happen to me. Maybe, Marcus said. Or maybe some things just get to be good, Em. Maybe that's allowed. Your mom didn't come to my door to get us back together. She came because she's scared of losing you to the same fear that's been running your whole life. And she didn't know how else to reach you. I think that's the bravest thing I've seen anyone do in a long time. Showing up somewhere she wasn't sure she was welcome, because the alternative was watching someone she loves disappear. Emma wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, laughing despite herself. A wet, surprised sound. She's going to deny this whole conversation happened. You know, she'll say she has no idea what you're talking about. Probably, Marcus said, smiling now too. But it happened anyway. They didn't get back together that day. Not officially. Emma needed more time than a single conversation in a coffee shop could fix. And Marcus, wiser now than he'd been 3 weeks earlier, didn't push for more than she could give. But she called him that weekend, and then the weekend after that, and slowly, carefully, the way you rebuild something you're not ready to lose twice, they found their way back to each other. Diane never brought up the porch conversation again. Exactly as she'd warned him she wouldn't. But 6 months later, at Thanksgiving, when Marcus showed up at the Hartley house with a bottle of wine in Emma's hand in his, Diane opened the door, looked at the two of them standing there together, and allowed herself the smallest, most satisfied smile Marcus had ever seen on her face. "Well," she said, stepping aside to let them in. "Don't just stand there. Dinner's getting cold." Marcus glanced at Emma as they walked inside, and she squeezed his hand once, like she knew exactly what he was thinking. Some doors, it turned out, were worth knocking on twice.